rank where the view is nothing less than phenomenal. For how I express and project from my abdominal. The only view better, both my daddy and my mama know. No living parents, my sons give me balance. My wife is my serenity, this mic is my identity. The world is foul enough, that's why I write without obscenities. Provoking danger with broken language and spoken anguish. Begging to get hurt, why would you ask to go through changes? Yes, Lord, life's a chessboard, master the angles. Control the tempo, be the one who holds the info. Acknowledged knowledge is just as deadly as machete swings. When spoken, the truth is as potent as that Medellin. While others swear the style is free, I just let it ring. Our time is undervalued, soldiers make us better kings. My fans on my shoulder, reaching after better things. Today I take the shot, for them I'd rather set the screen.
My mama told me follow my dreams. My daddy told me get it by any means. Stand tall, make him bow to a king. But I've evolved, you can see the resolve. Look in my eyes when you speaking to God.
Life and for those who we caught up in using what I was called with the muse. I guess they call it proving I'm more than an artist. Penciling out my darkest while sizzling out a harvest. And storing what gets me from A to B, just like garages. Instrumental with collages. Envision what I've been drawing. Broadway to give you rhythm like the great Lena on. So bent on, found comfort in the storm. Find peace and on when you see them others perform. Organized chaos, I'll cast it like hey ya.
I appreciate HRM. Appreciate that. I didn't even know the mic was muted, bro. Hey, appreciate that. So let me start all over. Party people in place, be what's good. It's number one Chief Rock Knicks Universal main man, Uncle Freezie. Welcome to the premier Knicks in the Nighttime joint, the Knicks at Night podcast. I am the resident Chief Rocker, numero uno, Uncle Freezie in the building. I have a lot of stuff to talk about. Want to talk about a wide variety of things: the coaching search, what players are coming in, trade stuff, rumor mill, all these different things. But I want to talk about one thing in particular before I get to all of that stuff and bring everybody up. Yeah, no, because when we get everybody on the panel, man, it's like you never know what you're gonna wind up talking about. So, but anyways. Who won the Mikal Bridges trade, and why is it important for us to talk about a year after the trade was completed? Why is it important? Right. I'm just going to say this. I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. The Knicks won the Mikal Bridges trade, right? What are we talking about, right? Here's the thing, though. I don't think the Knicks got the immediate return that they anticipated. They didn't get the immediate return that they anticipated, right? And it's not because Mikal Bridges is a bad player. It's because, just like other players on this roster, this player was not used to his full potential and capabilities. It's easy. Coach in the building, Ed Winning, salute. Brandon Williams in the building, salute. HRM in the building, salute. Why the Knicks won the Mikal Bridges trade is easy. I'm gonna say a few things just really quick. So when the news broke that the New York Knicks had traded for Mikal Bridges, fans across all the boroughs lit up with emotion like they normally do, right? The Knicks make a major move. Brooklyn at the same time made a major move. So basically everybody in the city was buzzing, right? So even though this was a very Knicksy move, man, you know, Brooklyn and the Nets celebrated because of what was perceived to be either a fairly even trade or the Knicks paid a high price for the asset that they wanted. Either way, both sides got what they wanted. Right? Right? But when the dust settled, the Knicks absolutely won this trade. Let's be real. It's not just about stats. It's about trajectory, culture, and identity. Right? The Knicks, fresh off of a second round exit to Indiana, they weren't desperate for Mikal. They were not scrambling for savior. Basically, they were fortifying. Basically, the Knicks were shoring up a roster that had potential to go to different heights. And Mikal Bridges was the perfect reinforcement at that time. One of the reasons why, right? One of the reasons why is because it's obvious. Mikal Bridges is an elite fit next to Jalen Brunson for a lot of reasons, right? Mikal Bridges brings something that doesn't show up in the box score. It's called alignment, algorithm, synergy, friendship, kinship, whatever you want to call it. His game complement Jalen Brunson's perfect. Brunson is a Tim Duncan-like scorer. Like Jalen Brunson is like the Tim Duncan of the point guard position on offense, right? He's a surgical scorer and a late game closer. Bridges, on the other hand, is a relentless defender, sometimes a catch and shoot sniper that can thrive off ball, kind of at times is best with the ball in his hands, but not when Jalen Brunson has the ball in his hands. He's effective next to Brunson, right? And we've seen guys next to Brunson not be that, right? We've seen guys, Quentin Grimes and others, try to be the complement to Jalen Brunson, but it's difficult to do, right? It's difficult to be the complement to Jalen Brunson, but Mikal Bridges steps into that role seamlessly. Right? Jalen Brunson is not a perfect player, but he is great and dynamic at the things that he does well. And when you have a player like Jalen Brunson, it's difficult to find the perfect complement to Jalen Brunson because he's great at certain things and maybe not as great at other things. And you need a guy that can fit next to Jalen Brunson in that mode and role where the circle peg fits into the circle hole, right? You don't want to bring in a guy and then have to teach this guy how to be the fit, and then it takes 2 or 3 years and all that stuff. Mikal Bridges comes in. As soon as he gets here, he and the addition of Karl Anthony Towns, all of a sudden, the Knicks are 2 games away from the NBA Finals. Of course, y'all know they were college teammates and friends. And that stuff matters. Chemistry, right? Over the years, we've seen what a fit can do in this league, whether it's Jokic and Murray, 2 guys that fit together, whether it's Tatum and Brown, 2 guys that fit together. And you've seen how it doesn't work in New York, where you have Carmelo Anthony and no other guy fits next to him. You have Patrick Ewing and no other guy fits next to him. You have Bernard King and no other guy fits next to him. Right? How much would you pay in draft picks? Say it's 1990. How much in 1990 would you pay in draft picks in 1990 to get a guy that perfectly fits with Patrick Ewing? Knicks fans. Knicks fans, think about this. In 1990, how many draft picks would you have paid to get the perfect fit next to Patrick Ewing? While you think about that, I'm going to go off the top of my head of some draft picks the Knicks made that the Knicks didn't trade away in a deal for Pat Ewing. I think 1990, they drafted Gerard Mustaf. I know him. I know Gerard. I know of Gerard Mustaf, right? His mom and my father used to work together at the same company, right? We were born around the same time, right? 91, I can't remember who the Knicks drafted in 91, but let's say, would you trade, and this is going to sound crazy when I say it, right? Think about this. In 1990, would you have traded Gerard Mustaf, Greg Anthony, Hubert Davis, Monty Williams, and Charlie Ward for Reggie Miller? Think about what I'm asking. But before we assume the number of draft picks is what matters, think about this. Would you have traded Gerard Mustaf, Charlie Ward, Monty Williams, Hubert Davis? Would you traded those guys for Reggie Miller? Of course you would have. Of course you would have, right? In Melo's prime, in Carmelo's prime, in Carmelo Anthony's prime, would you have traded Amon Shumpert, Landry Fields, the Harrelson kid, Clee Anthony Early, the Nassus Tunukumpo? Would you have traded all those kids for who was a great shooting guard in that? Paul George. Would you have traded all those picks, all those players for Paul George? A young Indiana Paul George. Salute to the chat too, by the way. I see y'all, man. I'm in a zone. I'm feeling it. So I'm trying to get these words out real quick before I do all this other stuff. When Melo was here, seeming like he had zero help, would you have traded Amon Shumpert, Landry Fields, Langston Galloway? I don't know. A young Paul George at the time. Of course you would have. Of course you would have. And now you have Jalen Brunson learning from mistakes of the past, right? You want your regime to progress and be better than previous regimes, right? You want your regime to be better than previous regimes and do moves that previous regimes would not do. So when you look at the Mikal Bridges trade and you look at this, where is it? When you look at this, what the Knicks gave up for Mikal Bridges, it looks like a lot. It looks like a ton. Right? This looks like a ton of stuff. Right? This looks like a ton of stuff. We get this, and Brooklyn gets this. So it looks like a lot, right? But this is the same fan base. This is the same fan base that mentioned that it's a shame we didn't build around Bernard King. It's a shame we didn't build around Pat Ewing. It's a shame we didn't build around Carmelo Anthony. But this is the same fan base that also says this may have been too much to give up for Mikal Bridges. Now, mind you, upon arrival, this team makes it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Right? Mind you, after this trade, Mikal Bridges comes in and the Knicks are 2 games away from the Eastern Conference Finals. The reason why I say this, the reason why I bring this up is because, and I'm sorry about not putting a notification out there sooner to let everybody know that we rocking. So I know people are just now coming in and whatever. And so I apologize about that. Sometimes these things need thought. And then other times, Uncle Freezie have a life. So. But why is it important for Uncle Freezie to bring this up now and not bring this up during the season? Well, we need to have at least one season of evidence of what Mikal Bridges can do with Jalen Brunson, because we had assumed this for years. After the Obi Toppin trade, no pun intended to whoever said something about Toppin in the chat. After the Obi Toppin trade, the assumption was they're making moves and room to bring in Mikal Bridges. Just happens that it came like a year later. So we know that Brunson and Bridges were college roommates, right? We know that there is a chemistry thing, a close friends thing, right? When guys are at or headed to their apex, they generally like having guys that are in the same boat with them, guys around the same age, guys with the same experience. Maybe they went to school together. Maybe they're from the same place. One of the things, though, that's very slept on about our culture is that Bridges not only wanted to be here, but he played a bunch of games. He played in all 82. Bridges is durable. High usage players are not. So when Jalen Brunson got his yearly injury, and I'm not saying Jalen Brunson is injury prone, I'm saying all stars go through this. When I say this, y'all, I need for y'all to understand, when I say yearly injury, all stars go through this, all of them. being a great player in this league, being at the top of a scouting report all year means something. Right? That means you're going to get the best from everyone else every game that you play. And having a compliment like Mikal Bridges is important, because there are going to be some games where he has to step up and fill in, and there be some games where he has to be the number one guy because the star is out due to break, rest, or injury. Mikal Bridges is basically Iron Man. Basically, that's who he is. And his two-way versatility is something that, as a Knicks fan, quite frankly, I enjoy. Do I wish he would hit more shots? Yes. But I think for the season, he may have shot 49% from the floor. That's not bad that's actually pretty good for a wing player. 49% from the floor, I find that to be pretty doggone good. Okay, so he shot, let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing. All right, don't want to see postseason, I want to see regular season. Regular season is what I want to look at. All right. So in the regular season, he shot 50% from the floor, 35% from three, and 81% from the free throw line. I find that to be pretty doggone good. I find it to be pretty doggone good. Shot Legacy in the building. Anthony Paris is in the building, claiming that the Nets won the trade. I hear you. The Smoking Nick in the building. IKBM Dre. I thought I saw Tori B in here. Don P in the building. Salute. When you consider your primary point of attack defender is shooting 50% from the floor on high volume, right, is a secondary ball handler. He also defends everywhere, guards, wings, and even some small modern fours. Some of them, not all of them. We've seen him guard Jason Tatum types, right? But here's the thing. In a championship culture type move, right, you can't always bring in a megastar, right? No team has 7 megastars on it, except the All-Star team. No team has 5 megastars on it, right? On a team where you know who your best player is, do you go out and try to get a guy that's better than him and then figure it out? Or do you go out and get a guy that complements this guy? The Knicks Leon Rose in ownership chose not to let Jalen Brunson go down the Bernard King path. The Knicks chose not to let Jalen Brunson go down the Patrick Ewing path. The Knicks front office leadership ownership chose not to let Jalen Brunson go down the Carmelo Anthony path. The Knicks chose to capitalize capitalize on the moment. Whether you like who the Knicks traded for or dislike what they spent in assets, what you can't say as a Knicks fan and be a respectable Knicks fan is that the Knicks aren't trying. You can dislike the move. You can dislike what was spent, right? You can dislike a certain player. You can wish your player provided more. But what you can't say as a respectable Knicks fan is that the Knicks aren't trying. And for a lot of us, our main thing is we want the ownership and leadership to try to win a championship. Even if you disagree with the move that was made, if you suggest that this organization is not trying to win a championship, and you just saw Tom Thibodeau get fired, and you saw them go all in for Mikal Bridges and all in for Karl Anthony Towns, and you still have the same sentiment, maybe this place is not for you. Maybe this place is not for you. Maybe Knicks fandom is not for you. Maybe, whatever is not for you. But to watch the Knicks understand himself, Carmelo, Jalen Brunson's here. Jalen Brunson can't win a chip by himself. Oh, yeah? Tell you what we'll do. Hey, Tori B, I'm glad you asked me that. My name ain't Freebie though. Hey. I got you both. No, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yo, that is hilarious. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yo, that's hilarious. Salute y'all. But yeah, so ultimately, I think the Brooklyn Nets felt like they won the trade, right? And if they felt like they won the trade, so mote it be, right? If Brooklyn feels as if they won the trade, so mote it be. Brooklyn is a different organization than the Knicks. Brooklyn is build, destroy, build, destroy, build, destroy. Make a run, lottery. Make a run, lottery. Make a run, lottery. That's who they are. Right? That's who they are. Right? Right now, they went through their Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce era, then they destroyed it. They went through their Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, Kyrie, all of that era, and then they destroyed it. Right? That's who they are over the years. They can say they can say something different if they'd like, but people are smart. I like to think most people are pretty smart. Right? I'd like to think most people are smart. Right? I like to let people prove to me that they're not smart. My assumption is people are smart. You have to prove to me that you're not smart. I don't live my life thinking people are dumb and you have to prove to me that you're smart. Right? Because I'm human. I'm human, right? And I don't surround myself with people who think they're smarter than everyone. usually the person that thinks they're smarter than everyone is a dummy. A dummy, relatively. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect, but the utmost respect to people, right? So if Brooklyn feels as if they won the trade, maybe they did because they got what they're looking for. If Brooklyn got what they were asking for or close to it, and they feel as if they won, salute to y'all for thinking that y'all won. But the Knicks got exactly what they were looking for. We wanted Mikal Bridges. Other teams in the league were making offers more rich or just as rich. Memphis was offering crazy offers. Houston was offering crazy offers for Bridges. We offered Brooklyn a deal that they couldn't take, couldn't refuse. And maybe they told us, if you want Bridges, this is the only package that we'll take for Bridges. We thought about it and said yes. Whatever. I feel like both sides. I feel like the Knicks won. They may feel like they won. They have draft picks and they're in the lottery. The Brooklyn Nets fans legitimately were watching the New York Knicks fans celebrate in the city in the Eastern Conference Finals. You tell me who the winner is. You tell me who the winner is. The Brooklyn Nets fans legitimately watched the New York Knicks fans celebrate in the playoffs. But here's the kicker. Mikal Bridges is not 35 years old. He's young, relatively speaking. Relatively speaking, he's young, right? Right? Relatively speaking. Right? For the most part. So by the time those draft picks come around, and by the time that this thing is over in 6 years, Mikal Bridges will be what, 30, 34, 35? He'll still be quite a good player when those draft picks blossom. When those draft picks name is called, Mikal Bridges may still be here. And who knows how many championships the Knicks will have by the time they call those kids names. Right? Secondly, one of the draft picks is going to happen in about 3 weeks. And quite frankly, I dare anybody to name the prospect that Brooklyn may take with the Knicks pick this year. Who won the Mikal Bridges trade? This is, to me, in my opinion, this is deeper than what I got into. I'm kind of taking a slightly deep dive. The deep dive here is this. The Knicks organization didn't want Jalen Brunson to be Carmelo Anthony, Patrick Ewing, Bernard King. They wanted a great player's tenure to be littered with accomplishment. That's the reason why you do the Mikal Bridges trade. That's why you do it. Because you don't want No disrespect to Bernard King, right? No disrespect to Patrick Ewing, who I believe is the GOAT. To me, Patrick Ewing is the greatest player to ever play NBA basketball. Y'all know that. I don't have to say that every summer. Anthony D in the building. Salute. But do you waste Jalen Brunson's prime years trying to nickel and dime and patchwork some type of fit together next to him? Or do you go out and get the guy and have them play their prime years together? What if the Knicks didn't make those draft picks of Gerard Mustaf, Greg Anthony, Hubert Davis, Monty Williams, and all those guys? What if they'd have just packaged all those picks and gave them to Indiana for Reggie Miller? Would we be having the same conversations now? Of course we would not. Of course we would not. So I guess to wrap this part up just a little bit, just to wrap this up a little bit, you got to applaud your front office for making bold moves. When you are to be an NBA champion, you have to make bold moves, and the Knicks made a bold move. And we should applaud them. We should applaud Leon Rose's front office for making a bold move. Because in years past, we would not have made the bold move, right? We would not have made the bold move, and Knicks fans would have still been complaining anyway. Trying to outsmart everybody. Like, I'm smarter than everybody else, y'all. Look at what I'm saying. No, it's too much evidence out here that if you do one thing, it doesn't work with whichever era it is. Make the bold move. Boston made a bold move when they traded the number 1 pick to Philadelphia. Philadelphia took the number 1 pick and drafted Markelle Fultz. Injured. Career didn't turn out to be much. The Lakers, with the number 2 pick in that same draft, drafted Lonzo Ball. Injured. Career didn't turn out the way that it should have. Boston, with the number 3 pick that they acquired from the Sixers, along with other firsts from the Sixers, in order for Sixers to get that pick, they drafted Jason Tatum. They could have drafted Jason Tatum at 1. They chose not to. They traded back 2 spots, picked up first-round picks, and drafted Jason Tatum. Bold moves. All right, let me see here. I'm going to put the link in the chat. I'm going to ask everybody to be respectful of moderation or get booted from the live stream. Y'all remember that? Uncle Freezie? Remember the Uncle Freezie told that was like, yo, you can come up here. Don't be whack. It's summertime, man. I'm gonna put the link out here. If you whack, I ain't even give you a warning. Tori B had a question for me about the coach. You, coach, what's good? Not
What's
this
good?
coach. Tori B had a question about the Knicks coach, not this coach. Salute, man. What's good? What's good with you?
It's good, brother. I like your take, my friend.
Yeah, man. Just a conversation piece, man. I heard a lot of Brooklyn Nets fans talking about the Knicks got snookered. Brooklyn won the Mikal Bridges trade. Meanwhile, they're preparing for like their third lottery in a row.
Yeah, man. I wish that the '90s Knicks did this. Mikal Bridges would have been the second best player on. I played with Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, man.
If you want to keep it a buck.
Yeah, man.
But
Smoke, what's good, bro?
It's good, Freeze. Can you hear me?
Yeah, man. I can hear you.
Yeah, I was trying to talk through my headphones, but it's not working right now.
Okay.
How you doing?
Man, I'm all right. I'm all right. So what do you think about, what do you guys think about the Knicks head coaching search?
I'm sorry.
Coach, what do you think about the Knicks head coaching search?
Coach.
I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a rush decision. At the same time, I think they want to get make the right move, obviously, for obvious reasons. But I think that there's a lot of pieces and things that you have to iron out before you just hire someone and announce it. Are they going to get with our players? I've heard the players, not that they have a say, but they obviously are the reason why we're doing this, because the front office, Leon Rose especially, believes in the team he put together. That's why they made this decision, because they believed in the players. So if you believe in the players, then you got to bring in the right guy to maximize what this group of players can do, or anyone else you bring in. So that can't be a rush decision. I obviously hope it's sooner than later, just so the new coach can get acclimated. So it doesn't drawn out too long. Some of the names I hear, it's always a rumor mill stuff. The fact that before this decision happened, it seemed like the Suns' job was close to being decided on, but now you don't hear anything about that, because one of the candidates, I think, for our job, Johnny Bryant, might have threw a monkey wrench in that situation. So I do think he's someone that we're considering. And for me, that's my personal choice. So we'll see how that works out. I think they're handling it. So far, I trust in and believe in all the decisions. Leon. Oh, so they did hire Otman. That's my bad for not being.
Yeah. What about the Knicks coaching thing? No, is kind of odd in that there is no front runner in the clubhouse right now. Right now, there are a few coaches' names being floated around, but usually when things like this happen in the city, what I'm saying, the media and the fans circle the wagons around one or two guys. Even though the interview process goes on and the Knicks select who they want, there's usually a buzz around one or two guys. Like when Tibbs got the job, there was buzz around Kenny Atkinson, Tibbs, and I think Mark Jackson may have been on the outside looking in. Nice, what's good, man? AD, what's good?
What's good? How's everybody doing?
Good, man. Good.
Salute. No,
Smoke.
this was popping.
So, Smoke, what do
No,
you think about the what do you think about the coaching search? Like, what should not the coaching candidates? I'm talking about the search. How do
the
you feel about
search.
this?
No, I don't even feel like we should be in this position, to be honest with you. Right? I feel like we're moving a little too fast, and like we in this super vortex stuck behind a car going 220 miles per hour, and now we put ourselves in a position where we can't brake fast enough because we're going to crash. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, well, I'll let you speak. So, give me the same grace.
Smoke, go ahead and say it. Smoke, go ahead and do your thing. We don't do stuff like that, bro.
Yeah,
We top notch, man. Go ahead and say what you're gonna say.
yeah. But I'm just saying that, like, I don't even like the position we in, and you know, I feel like, to be honest, that if Johnny Bryan is the name that we've heard and stuff like that, but if their plan was to fire the coach that's been helping us succeed, to think they're going to steal somebody else's coach, knowing how many conditions and terms it takes just to get somebody out of their situation, right? It doesn't make it. That's not a plan, right? Unless you have that set in stone where you know, and it definitely seems like they plan to fire Tibbs just based off how the season went, because to make that much of a rash decision so quickly means that you already was set that you was moving forward, in my mind, right? My opinion. So as far as the search go, like Johnny Bryan is a good name. He was on the team for a while, being, you know, Tibbs' number one assistant or whatever and stuff like that. So he's a familiar face, somebody we know and stuff like that. And he got excuse me, sorry about that. He got a lot of good stuff that he brings to the table and stuff. I don't know a bunch about him, but I've heard his name very consistently. So like he would be my number one just based off like him helping us contribute to winning and stuff like that.
Okay. All right.
That's just my earliest opinion. I don't know, like, you know, you hear names, but like I said, if their plan was to fire Tibbs to look for other people coaches, I think that's a terrible plan, right? So, like, you know, assistant coaches is not what I mean, but like, if you think you about to get Jason Kidd or Ime Udoka, that is delusion. You know what I mean? That's what I mean, to be specific.
All right, Dre, what's good, bro?
Hey, salute, coach. Salute,
Salute, Dre.
TSK. Salute, Freezie. Salute, AD. Salute, Nice.
Salute.
I agree with TSK. Like, especially the Ime Udoka thing. Like, you got to come up off of draft picks, and that ownership group is not about to come up off Ime Udoka for nothing. But I digress. I think there are options out there to be seen. It wouldn't like I was thinking about it and mulling it over. If it comes on to Johnny Bryan, cool. Uh, if they decide that's the guy, they've already shown a track record of interviewing quality and capable coaches in this league before. I wouldn't hate if it was like Taylor Jenkins, to be absolutely honest with you, Freezy, because he's still young enough and he has experience and he's had playoff runs and he still can learn and grow, as opposed to a guy that's been around the league and they're pushing 60 or pushing 70 in Tibbs' case. There's still a level of growth to be had within a certain coach of that age. He's 40, so. But in terms of like the process, yeah,
Right.
I'm not with like trying to poach coaches that are already under contract unless they already have hearsay, which isn't out of the realm of possibility because Leon Rose definitely works within the shadows and uses as many connections as possible, him and William Wesley. So it wouldn't shock me if there was some sort of term where we got to Jason Kidd or something like that. I'm not too excited about the prospects of Jason Kidd, but it wouldn't shock me if we had something happen. But as far as that Ime thing is, that's never gonna happen.
Right. So you're not satisfied with what you think is the approach based on what you read in the media.
Yeah, but that's all I know at this point.
Right. That's all we have to go by.
Yeah.
Right. AD, what's good, bro?
Salute. What's going on?
What's up, AD?
So how you feel about the coaching search?
Salute, Knicks fans. I'm still trying to come to grips with not having, a legitimate. I don't care whatever anyone wants to call him, a legitimate coach. So before I end up where I end up, so we give up a sure entity for something unsure.
Scared money don't make no money, AD.
Hey, Dre, hold on. Let him finish his thought.
Yeah, you're not gonna throw my lines at me, Dre.
Hey, y'all, just real quick. Just want to remind y'all, man. Just answer the question, man. Just stay on task, man. That's all. That's all I'm asking.
So I don't know. In my head, I'm thinking it's only 3 people. And 2 of those, as Smoking Nick and IBM Dre said, pipe dreams. So that leaves me with one person, and the one person has never drawn up a play. He just has likability with the fan base right now. And that's a dangerous place to be.
Okay. Nice. You feeling the same way, or you have a different thought?
No, I have a different thought. For some reason, in order to let go of coach like Coach Thibodeau and knowing the background of how far he already got us, most likely before they already let him go, they already know who they already have in mind. They already spoke behind closed door. Like just think about it. Ever since Leon Rose took over, there's a lot of things in the shadows that you be thinking like, oh, he ain't gonna do this, and all of a sudden he hits you with the left. Oh, he ain't gonna do that. Oh, then again he hits you with the right. So it's like you don't know what to expect, but at the same time, before they actually make a move, they already have everything planned out. So I already feel like they already have it in mind. They already spoken to the coach, and it's just a matter of time for us to know who is that golden coach that they actually spoke to.
Okay. Wiz, you have a similar thought? Last time I spoke to you, you were glad that Tim was gone.
I just gotta say salute to my favorite cab driver.
Salute, people.
Is Wiz here? Oh,
Wiz.
That take tonight. You hear me?
Yeah.
Yo, the take tonight about saying if they're trying to get Kid or Udoka, it's crazy if they really fired Tibbs and were thinking about, like you said, stealing somebody else. So unless they announce after they get the details of the contract out already of either Malone or Bryant, someone that they got already in their pocket and they fire him without knowing who they can lock up, I think that would be insane. And I think it would be unlike Leon to make a move like that, saying fire Tibbs and then try to get somebody and steal somebody. So I would be shocked if that was their game plan, or the game plan changed on the way. After the fire Tibbs and I started hearing maybe Kid reached out to them or something, and they go, "Oh, Brian, I know we promised you the job, but Jason Kidd reached out. We got to give him a chance." Something like that has to happen. It'll be insane that they did not have a coach locked in before they fired Tibbs. Because although I'm not a fan of Tibbs, there is no way I let go of this guy who's done so for the organization, and look like it's just a matter of talking to him a hard talk this summer after he saw the expanded roster usage, not just by us, but by OKC and the Pacers, to recognize his mistake and he's got to change. Although there's more stuff like offensive sets and stuff he has to add as well, which he's got to listen to his assistant coaches if he doesn't have the mentality or creativity to do it. I would be shocked if they didn't have someone locking in. I think they have Bryant locked in, and that's why he didn't get the job right in Phoenix. I think he probably the fire happened after they called him up and said, "Oh man, before you take the job, would you want to come back home?" And he probably
Let me,
go, "Yo,
Wiz,
if you guys make me an
say this.
offer,
Let
I'm
me let me
yours."
just Wiz, let me just say this to you really quick, man. I want just two things. But before we open it up and it be open panel, I just want to get two thoughts out there. The way Phoenix conducts their coaching search and looks for their candidate is not going to be the same exact way that the Knicks coach opens their coaching search and searches for their candidate, right? Where the Phoenix Suns are looking to tear down and restart and get a young, energetic coach that's going to be in place for the tear down and restart may not be the fit for Johnny Bryant, who seems as if he is ready to be on the path of helping a team contend for a championship. Now, mind you, when Johnny Bryant was free to sign with 29 other franchises, he chose to sign with Cleveland, who had dreams on winning a championship, right? You didn't see Johnny Bryant meander to the Washington Wizards to help them with their young moldable talent, right? So if you're thinking about who these coaches candidates are and what these franchises are looking to do, when you say what candidate is the best fit for which job, you always have to think about what direction the franchise is headed in the next 1, 2 to 3 years, right? Is Johnny Bryant willing to be a rebuild coach that often gets fired on their first attempt, right? How many times have you seen a no-name coach go to a young rebuilding team, they lose, he gets fired, now he's an assistant for the next 10 years?
The
It happens.
Wizards.
It happens often. So if you're Johnny Bryant, who has already been an assistant for a long time, do you want to risk the one shot you get on a rebuild, then you lose and you get fired, and then now you're back on this trail of rebuilding your image to try to make your way to a job? And I'm not saying that you're wrong, right? I'm just saying that different organizations have different perspectives on the candidates they like to hire, and the candidates themselves have designs on what type of situation they want to go to. So, but let me bring it, Fritz. Let me ask you this. I'm gonna ask you this before we do the open discussion. Does Leon Rose view players, coaches, and staff as assets? And if he does, is that the reason why he's looking at Jason Kidd or Ime Udoka as an asset that he can acquire? Like he acquired the medical staff guy from Dallas.
As an asset. Yeah, everybody's an asset. Leon Rose comes from CAA talent agency. So assessing, I guess assessing, he knows when to bring something, he knows when to cut something. I think, yeah, everything's an asset if you really think about it.
Okay. Because I hear both sides of the Jason Kidd, Ime Udoka, and whatever other coaches on the contract. I hear that conversation, and I respect it. I think Leon Rose is a high-minded thinker. Like I don't think Leon Rose is knee jerk. I think Leon Rose is one that collects data from a lot of smart people, right? And then internalizes all the input he gets from very, very, very smart, well-informed, and educated people, and then make decisions that he think is best based off of the information that's provided to him.
Yeah.
Right. And
But,
so that sounds like I'm giving Leon Rose a lot of praise. I'm actually just giving him credit for who he is. What do you think about that, Fritz?
Well, yeah, and also Jason Kidd's also known for his relationship with his players, so that may be something that needs to be fixed. Um, you know, coaching isn't always about X's and O's, and that's something Jason Kidd has always had great relationships with his star players. And if you're gonna have stars on your team, um, they need to be treated a certain way, and you need to know how to deal with them to get the best from them.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Coach.
Mhm.
All right. So let's do the open discussion, right? All I'm going to ask everybody, all I'm going to ask is don't talk over each other. Like, I've been saying this for like 2.5 years, and y'all been running me over on the panel, and I'm tired of it. All I'm going to say is when somebody else is talking, if you talk over somebody else, man, you're gone. And if your feelings hurts, fuck it. Right. All I'm gonna ask is be respectful of the person that's talking, man, so we can grow the channel, get to these places that we deserve to be at. Like Lawrence Tears should be, you know what I'm saying, considered one of the better Knicks content creation channels out here. And that's what we headed to. And either you can be a part of that and help us get there, or you can talk trash about us from off the screen. I don't care. Right. Just be mindful when somebody is speaking. Just be respectful of that person speaking, even if they can't get their thought out, right? Just let them get their thought out. And then I'm saying to the person that's speaking, man, don't hog the mic, man. That's irritating for everybody. Coach, what's on your mind, bro?
Well, my thing is, I don't want to get into the habit of name and clout chasing just because it's a name. Like a lot of times people think a coach has a resume and all this success because they're a name. I just want to name just a few names and I'll let everyone else go do their thing. The last 11 championships in the NBA, I'm going to name some names and you tell me how big they were coming into their team before they became their coach. Obviously, 4 of those were Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr was not a big, sexy coach name when he first got that job. That was his first real job for the Warriors. So we got David Blatt, Tyrone Lue, Nick Nurse, Frank Vogel, Mike Budenholzer, Mike Malone, and Joe Mazzulla. Out of all those names, you tell me which one of those coaches went into their team thinking they were the coach that was going to be the savior and bring them championships as soon as they got in. I'd be pressed to say none of those names were that when they first became the coach. So,
well, can I answer that, or was that an open-ended question?
Hold on, Dre. Let that man
I thought it was
finish.
an open-ended question. My bad.
Yeah, I'm sorry, and then I'll finish with this. They became bigger names after they had success with some of those teams. So, with that being said, what keeps the Knicks from that mindset of giving a newer coach who's with a fresh outlook the chance that some of those coaches I just named got to grow with their team?
I can answer now.
Yeah.
Well, as far as like when you name the Cavs and the Raptors, their sole intention was to win a championship, and they were like, this coach isn't gonna do it, so we got rid of him immediately. Because remember, the Cavs came off of a finals appearance when they fired David Blatt for Ty Lue. Their end game was to win a championship. The Raptors literally fired their coach after that coach won Coach of the Year because they were sick and tired of plateauing. And they
Right.
hired a new coach that had never coached at the NBA level. Granted, Nick Nurse was decorated overseas. So their expectation, even with new coaches that have never coached at that level, was to win a championship. As you said with Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr was a GM for the Phoenix Suns for a short term. He
Yeah.
was never a coach at the NBA level. He became a coach and immediately won a championship. Like, just because it's a new name or a guy you've never heard of or a guy has never coached at this particular level, if they present a certain skill set or an ability to reach to their players and mesh with their players at a certain level, they can complete the mission and achieve the highest goal, which is winning the championship. Just to completely diminish a guy because you've never seen him do it at this level, when we have literally within the last decade seen 3 guys win a championship and never been an NBA head coach at any destination in their first year on the job.
Hmm.
So I can't just straight dismiss a lot of these guys just because they haven't done it at this level yet. It would just be lazy to do that when you have history showing you that it's happened. And the guys that they were replacing were quality head coaches. Just like Tom Thibodeau was a quality head coach. Mark Jackson was a quality head coach. The Raptors coach was a quality head coach. So it's just David Blatt was decorated overseas and went to the finals the year before. And they still fired him.
Okay.
It's just lazy if you just make
So what you think? So what you think of Smoke?
I think we skipping over the main point is this roster a championship roster, right? Because I think Tom Thibodeau has been overachieving. We've had 5 different rosters in the 5 years he's been here, right? So we skip over these little minuscule points and we try to always look broad, like you said, overthinking things, thinking we too smart, as you were saying earlier, right? And not looking at the minutia of things, right? Trying to always act like we in the other position of other people instead of just facing where we at, right? We don't have no bench, right? We don't want to talk about. I get the conversation is about the coaching and stuff like that, so I don't want to move off the point. I hate to do that. I apologize. I swear to God, I do. But when we have these kind of conversations and we're not focused on the real issues, it bothers me because I'm like, yo, we skipping over the real problems and we talking about stuff that's really non-existent.
Yes, Smoke. I got it.
So hold on, wait. Smoke.
It's all speculation. It's all speculation.
Smoke. So I mean, I don't know. I think you just said I don't know what the ideal thing is that you get.
My premise is that fact that like even if we get a new coach for the 1 year, and I'm gonna just go off the premise of what they was talking about that we could get a coach and that he could help us do. But those teams had better rosters than us. They had star players and they had benches. When we just talk about our bench from this year and last year, and I hate to do this, but I have to. We don't have a good bench. So when you got to overexert your players, that with what a lot of people been speculating that Tom Thibodeau got fired for was overexerting the players and stuff like that. What is the other coach going to do when he realized that we don't have no reserves? So that's my point.
For no disrespect, but I don't think that's your point. I think you responded to what Dre said. I don't know if I heard what you think is the option here. I think you responded to like some stuff that other people said. What's on Smoke mind? So what does Smoke think about this thing as opposed to the response to everybody else?
I think we should have kept the ball rolling. I don't think we should have made no. I think, to be honest, we should have kept it like the Spurs. You mature like fine wine. You go through the battles and you go through stuff and you learn from it and you get better over time. People acting like Thibodeau wasn't adjusting and wasn't trying to make moves and wasn't doing certain things. These things were actively happening in front of people's faces and they still were disregarding it. You know what I mean? That's genuinely what I think. I think like people want things like hot pockets and they want it right now. But nobody just matures overnight. You got to go through experiences. You have to go through things. You have to be in these circumstances so you could think a little differently. So next time you're in a situation, you know how to react to it. Stuff like that. That's what I genuinely think.
Okay. All right. Nice. What's good, bro?
So
Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
for us to say that we didn't have a bench is an understatement because we did have a bench. The only thing is that we wasn't playing them. If you look at pretty much the playoff, Coach Thibodeau, as much as I love him, he was exposed. He started trying different things because now you have your back on against the wall. Your starters ain't working out. Now you're forced to play like a Wright, like a Shaman. Every single time he was playing them in the playoff, our number was better. But then he reverted back to playing the starters when they wasn't doing nothing. And that's the thing. It's not about you like me bashing either the starter or the bench, but you gotta play whatever you have going on. You need to understand what is the plus in your players, what is the negative in your players. Are you willing to put two players that they don't defend at all, like a Cat or a Brunson at the same time, or can I mix and match? You had a whole year Coach Thibodeau had, and he didn't even actually started tinkering, and he started tinkering in playoff. Is that the best time that you actually found to actually tinker with your roster?
That's yo, Smoke. I just
Go ahead, Wes.
the statement of when if you look at our roster a year ago, we had the strongest bench in the league a year ago, or not. Well, let's say a year and a half ago. So why would we go from the strongest bench in the league and we remove basically one guy from our bench? It was only really technically one change from our bench. We strengthened our starters and we removed one guy from our bench, and that guy was Dante. So therefore, Hart moves Dante's spot kind of shorter. So I don't know how we went from the strongest bench in the league to no bench. So you can't call it no bench. Unice was perfect. Tibbs did not utilize our bench. Precious Achua is not a no, a low skill player, not a low IQ player. Sharrett has shooting skills, didn't exploit. Right.
Oh, Wes done disappeared.
We lost
Wes,
him.
you just go ahead, Coach. Wes disappeared.
Yeah, but no, like, and that's just it. For me, that's what I want the new coach to. I want a new coach here that is gonna
And then we're going
exhaust
to mention
all options.
right here,
And
22 games.
oh, there's Wiz.
Hey, hold on. I'm gonna hit Wes up in a second, go ahead, Coach.
All right. You need to exhaust all options and all opportunities of your roster throughout a whole season. You don't wait until you're in a life or death situation to finally do it. Because in my eyes, if we would have did that all year, we wouldn't have been in that position in the first place. Because we would have been prepared for all scenarios. Okay? So you can't proclaim when you don't have a bench when you don't play them, because we don't know if we have a bench. We don't. What if Thibodeau or any coach decided I don't feel like playing Mikal Bridges anymore. He's only going to play 10 minutes a game. We're going to be mad at him, aren't we? Because of someone that should be playing more. It's the same. It's the same mentality. If you don't put guys in at the right time in the right scenarios, there's more to it than just he was the guy coaching while we went to the Eastern Conference Finals because our talent was so good that we didn't utilize it well enough. So,
Coach.
What I need the new coach to be is someone to just be open and willing to look at everybody. That's what the regular season's for. Like, if you look at a time, is Malik Rose, Danny Ferry, Samaki Walker, and Avery Johnson an amazing group of names as far as a bench goes to you? Well, the San Antonio Spurs had 10 players average over 20 minutes a game the year they won. And this is a 99, 2000 time. This is considered old school. Back in the time when everyone was playing 35, 40 minutes. Like Greg Popovich, I respect him a lot, what he did. To me, he laid the foundation of what the future NBA needs to be. You need to look at your whole roster. They had all-stars. They have Hall of Famers. They had Duncan. They had Robinson. Tony Parker, they had all these guys, but they still played other guys that are considered average 20 minutes a game. It's common sense. So when it's been done this long and you still have a coach that still isn't doing it, it's a problem. To me, it's not even something that should even be talked about anymore with any coach. What other coach in the NBA right now do they complain about playing as starters too much? Can anyone answer that question?
Mike Malone.
And Mike Malone, the year they won a championship, they had more depth. This year they didn't have necessary depth.
Correct, Dre. So I disagree because when you name the people like Avery Johnson's a good player. He's not just no regular, you know what I mean? He was a good player for a very long time in the NBA, right? You can make him seem like some regular role player, but that's Avery Bradley, right? So, and then, you might, Avery Johnson, I'm sorry. I melded the names. Yeah. And then, a lot of these dudes had good careers, but you acting like people like Michael Finley wasn't on that team. Like they didn't play with Ellie Rose or Sean Elliott. Like Steve Kerr wasn't on that Spurs team. They had a good bunch of over average players on these teams. And it was about seven. They went seven. Hold on. You said they went average like 20 minutes.
Say your point, bro. Just say your points, man.
I'm not interrupting nobody, Freezie. I'm just speaking. All I'm saying is that when the time came to it, they had 10 solid individuals that they could rely on. You can't tell me even if we played them same 10 dudes, we could rely on all 10 of them because we tried it and you couldn't.
When did we try?
That's my point.
I'll say this to that point, TSK. We don't have to go that far to even compare. Look at the dudes the Pacers were pulling off their bench, man. Thomas Bryant and Tony Bradley and Shepard. Like, these dudes you've never heard of in your life that ain't never did anything at the high level.
You're making my point, Dre.
And
You're making my point.
But they came off the bench and gave them quality minutes. That's it. Within a structure because they were playing all year.
But can I piggyback on what you just said, IKBM? Even Obi Toppin, and when we had him, we didn't have even played him like that.
Nope.
Yeah.
Sure did not.
Like even last year, I just want to say this real quick. Even last year, what happened last year? We played our bench because all our starters was hurt. If our starters wasn't hurt, imagine what? Our bench wouldn't even be playing. Devo might not even be Devo.
First, number one with Tibbs, when we had our crew all healthy, Devo didn't even finish games.
Yeah.
Josh Hart finished games, which was
They didn't need to.
ridiculous in that fact. Like that alone, and I'm not even on the minutes police thing. Sometimes you just need to dig deep in your roster to figure out multiple combinations with coherent lineups that work, that can win you minutes in a pinch, and they know what to do because they've played with one another before.
And let me ask
stretches over
y'all
82
this.
games.
Let me ask y'all this because I feel like we going somewhere. Why are we talking about standard NBA stuff? We know this stuff already, right? Don't we know it? And don't we know what NBA team need a bench?
I don't think everyone thinks that way. That's why we're explaining it. There's some people that aren't.
I mean, we talking
we all
standard
know
NBA
we all
stuff.
know that an NBA team needs quality NBA depth and a quality NBA bench, right? Anybody disagree with me?
Nope.
How do you know if they don't play though? That's our question.
But coach, listen to what I'm saying.
I know.
An NBA team needs quality NBA depth and a quality NBA bench. That's what I'm saying. And you just asked me, like, how do you know if we are not playing them? I'm not talking about we. I'm talking about a quality NBA team.
I know, Freezie, but if we have a quality bench, I'm not saying if we have quality players on our bench, how do we know how quality they are if they don't play? That's a valid question.
No, that's not a valid question, Coach.
And how do you know when something's good if you don't see it?
It's not a valid question.
Hold on. It's not a valid question because
you're sitting here backing smoking it. He thinks you're backing him and you ain't.
No, it's not. We're still talking about what the previous coach did. The previous coach is not here anymore.
Yeah.
We can't keep blaming, like we can't blame our current plight on a dude that's gone. The reason why he's gone is because the thing that you're saying is accurate. But that's why he's gone. But the new guy is not going to be the same as the old guy. If the new guy is the same as the old guy, now we got to point fingers at the front office. We know an NBA team needs quality depth and a quality bench. And we know we didn't know how good the bench could be because of the coach that we just fired. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that what coach is saying is not smart. What I'm saying is that we can beat the dead horse all summer, or we can realize where we are right now.
That's fair. But I think
You're right, Frank. You're right. I think moving forward, then Oh, sorry. I think moving forward, then obviously we need somebody that's a little more, a little more balanced. That's off, or has offensive ingenuity, can come up with things on the fly quickly. You know what I mean? And sideline plays, creative. More experimental on the offense and stuff like that. So we ain't so stagnant. I think the ball needs to move, and Jalen Brunson and whoever comes in needs to just make it. If we could get what Malpica wants, then we need to the ball needs to move around. People can't just be standing around watching Jalen Brunson do things all day, so they cold. And when they need to be relied upon, they don't got no rhythm and stuff like that, right? And
right.
You may not agree with me, but I'm not saying the offense we running is just stagnant, right? Because we got a point guard that don't really pass the ball like that naturally, right? He passes the ball out of more like, what's the word that I can't even, not even necessity. He don't do it out of necessity, because necessity would be when it's open, right? He really be looking for his most of the time. He don't be looking for nobody else. And this is why we can't get into the rhythm that we kind of need to get into. He's supposed to be a point guard, right? If you know you can put up 38, you should be putting your people on first and then trying to get yours in the latter stages of the competition, right? If you know you can get yours. You know what I mean?
I think that's more of a symptom of the coach than Brunson
Yeah.
himself. I think Brunson.
Nah, I think that's a symptom of him, bro. How he want to be recognized. You know what I mean? Because he don't really think
to
about
that point,
nobody.
even to that point, TSK. Even if he's like an ISO player and he wants to kill his man in front of him, right? You could just look at how OKC run it. If they're gonna do that ISO thing, then they put 4 shooters on the court.
Mhm.
Period. So SGA can't get doubled, and you live and die with that.
Mhm.
But we don't even do that. We just
Mm.
have like guys
See,
in the dunker
but
spot, 2 guys in the corners, then 1 guy trying to crash. Now our floor balancing is terrible, and now every time we miss a shot and we don't get the rebound,
Coach,
it's
you
an
see how they still
automatic
talking
point.
about Tibbs? You see how they still talking about Tibbs?
No. That's
I
not
didn't
Tibbs.
say nothing about this.
No.
He is.
Hold on.
Yeah,
I
he's
didn't
talking
say
about Tibbs.
nothing. I'm
Hold
like,
on,
yo,
hold on.
I moved from that, but you got
He's
it.
still talking about Tibbs.
No. This isn't just Tibbs though. Like if you leave the players to their own devices, they will fall in these traps and do it on their own. And we need a coach to be able to break that. It's not. I'm done off of that, Tipster. I'm talking
Right,
about.
we got to move on from Tibbs, bro. We
Yeah, no, we definitely
the
did.
thing is the thing is I think everybody is making excellent points, right, about what the future of New York Knicks basketball should look like, not what it looked like last month, right? The organization was smart enough to make the move fast enough to have a reasonable amount of time to make really deep, in-depth decisions based off of the information that's provided to them recently, right? If you think that Tom Thibodeau was fired because of they have a sweetheart candidate, maybe so. I think we've all been in that situation. That's part of the human element. Like we've all stopped at McDonald's to get some fries because we know we got some chicken at home that's thawing out that we're gonna cook when we get home, something like that. Right? We've all done that. That's like just the human element, right? Tom Thibodeau legitimately, and I'm not bashing Tibbs, I'm talking about the future of Knicks basketball. Tom Thibodeau had been on the hot seat at least 6 or 7 times. At least. Right? And so how many times can you put a guy on the hot seat without realizing, yo, I'm tired of the hot seat, man. Right?
Freezie, can I ask you a question?
Here's the thing that with Brunson is, this is only his 3rd year actually running a team. Like he's still, because his first few years in the league, Doncic was that guy, and he was the off-ball guy,
right?
And he didn't even start until his second half of his second to last year there. And the last I checked, he was 8th in the league in assists. So we're sitting here saying that he doesn't pass. He's doing things that other guys don't do in this league. The only other people that are scoring as much as him and getting assists, his name is Jokic. Okay, guys like LeBron. I mean, we're talking guys that are like
Luka.
Legendary players are scoring what he's scoring, and still, do I think? Am I making excuses for him? Do I think he needs to be a better assist playmaker? Of course he does. But you got to think about who's on the court with him, what the scheme is for whatever the new coach is, and he's had the most 30-point, 10 assist games of anyone in the playoffs.
Yeah, but you could
you
could have 50 points or 60 points. It means nothing if we end up losing.
No,
at
exactly.
the end of the day, it's not bashing Brunson. Like, we all love Brunson and we all appreciate what Brunson has done for the team. But at the same time, he needs to learn how to take a step back, not bashing him again. It's just saying it doesn't make no sense when you for some reason end up getting hurt, knock on wood that ever happens in the future. and then OG start popping up, and he's getting 30 to 40, but the team looks efficient. The team looks like an actual team. All of a sudden, they actually put Wright, and Wright be playing in a way that is team chemistry. But then again, it's like when Brunson is on the floor, no, not bashing him, but everybody is kind of looking lost. OG doesn't even know what to do. Mikal Bridges is looking like the only like
finished, Jared.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish.
He's taking 20 shot in the first quarter and ain't working out, and in the second quarter he's going off. Like that's not sustainable.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's what he needs to. I'm not saying we need to just keep running it back the way we've been. And I'm not saying I'm satisfied with his 7 assists. Let's pack it up. I'd rather him average 23 and get 10 assists and get other people going. Obviously, we all want that. So, but you got to, that comes down to systems and the new coach. And if he's put in a position, see, a lot of times people think that the player is just, I'm not going to pass to these people. It's like, that's not what's happening.
But who's the general in the floor, coach?
A fresh. I mean, a nice. I mean, I'll rebuttal it this way. I think he more or less needs a coach that can put him in structure to make his reads quicker. He falls into a trap when he gets the ball within the structure of past offenses, not to rehash it, where it's like, yo, get yours. We'll figure everything else out off of you. We'll play off of you. And when you allow a guy to play to his own devices without structure, you end up seeing guys with their warts pop out.
Yeah.
You see their falls even more when you allow them to just play with no structure and just be like, hey, you figure it out. Because a lot of the time when we came down in these playoffs, not to rehash, but it came down to straight up crazy shot making, Cat making tough shots, Mikal making tough shots.
It's the movie Crash, Dre. It's the movie Crash.
Yeah, like at a certain point, yes, you need players to perform at a high level, but can you throw the player a bone as a coach? You got to throw a player a bone. You got to make the game easier. You got to make the reads quicker. And when you look at, like, when you compare and look around the league and you watching, like, the Pacers play, half their reads be quick. They get off the ball, guys are moving, guys are cutting, guys are spacing, and they're playing entire lineup. Their whole starting lineup is 5 out.
I don't mean to cut you off, Nice. I just want to say real quick to Dre's point. I think to what you're saying, the new coach needs to make, because we've been the slowest pace for the past 5 years. I think that's what we want to get into anywhere from like 6 to 10, right? And improve on pace to where people are just making decisions quicker and they're not just hesitating. And then we're slowing up the game. And so teams can come back from 14 points in 3 minutes and stuff like that, when you clearly should win and you still lose the game because your pace is slow, and then you know what I mean, stuff like that. That's what I mean.
But Smoke, look at Halliburton. There's nights that he didn't have it against us, and what happened? He took a step back and he let pretty much the other 4 players do their thing.
Yeah, he creates for others, exactly.
But if you put it in a caliber, Halliburton or Jalen Brunson, 100 times I will prefer Jalen Brunson.
No, I'm taking Halliburton because when you watch them play, he's actually making.
I was trying to tell you his point though, why he was saying he'll take Brunson. Just don't finish.
If you look at Jalen Brunson, he makes lots of tough shots. Even knowing that let's say his defense is not on par, hopefully it gets better and he looks more because there's many occasions that he has seemed as a willing defender, but at the same time it's learned that if it's not going your way, stop freaking forcing it. Start believing in your team. If you don't have it enough, at least to carry your team, have the understanding and belief that your team will do it for you.
Nice. To that point, when we and I'll respond to this in the chat too as well, because it leads to the same thing. I watched. Coaches don't call plays every single time down. Coaches bake in an offense that has reads and rules and principles that you have to abide by every single possession. So, for example, if you're bringing the ball up and X player is in the right corner and you're dribbling at him, X player needs to clear out. That's an example of a principle. Or if we're running a screen, I don't need you to dive on the screen when I'm already dribbling in the lane and we got two guys already in the corner. That says to me as a coach, you have undisciplined players and you're not preaching maximizing spacing. When you watch the Pacers play, they're constantly relocating and they don't need to look at their coach to do that because that was drilled into
No,
them.
no,
That
they
was
don't.
drilled into them. They had habits drilled into them from training camp for multiple seasons. It's not coaches don't call plays every single time down. What they
Dre,
do is they try to
just
drill in
real
good
quick, Dre.
habits.
Just real quick, Dre. The Indiana Pacers offense is not an upper level, eloquent offense. All it is the repetition of basic fundamental reads over and over and over and over. Do the fundamental play. Like if you tell guys just make the fundamental play over and over and over and add pace to it, it looks like a high octane, super efficient offense when basically the guys in this offense learned this stuff when they were 6 and 7 years old, right? So when Rick Carlisle gets these guys, he doesn't have to give them a playbook that's about the size of your computer tower, right? All he asks them to do is just do the stuff that they learned since they were 6 years old and just do it with pace. That's why guys know where to be. They know how to relocate. Guys know when to cut because they learned this stuff from elementary school, middle school, high school, college, pros, all of that stuff. By the time they get to the Pacers, all he's saying is, Obi, if your man turned his head, cut to the rim.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, and then people will look like, yo, you saw that lob Obi caught? Bro, he did a basic fundamental play, right? He did Tyrese Halliburton cutting to the rim, right? And he sees his man leave the box and come to the front of the rim. His read is throw the basketball to the top corner, to the top opposite corner. But guess who's also doing something at the same time? Obi Toppin's man turned his head and he cut baseline. And you have a organic lob, right, that looks like it was designed by Rick Carlisle back in July when all it was a basic fundamental principle.
I think a lot of that what you said is true.
But our coach didn't stress that, right? Our coach, right, instead of and I'll say this because I wanted to get coach opinion on this. Instead of Jerry Rice seeing the corner being off, right, and the linebacker blitzing, Jerry Rice knows to run a slant, right? Joe Montana sees the corner off and he sees the linebacker in the hole. Joe Montana is thinking, I just got to throw this ball right to the vacated area. He throws the ball to the vacated area. Guess what? It's caught by the greatest receiver of all time, and it's a touchdown, 70 yards. People think they worked on that. People are like, oh my God, Bill Walsh created that back in July. No, he did not. All it is you do the basic fundamental plays, and then in our case, we don't run the West Coast offense like with Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. We have a Michael Vick offense where one guy gets the football and scrambles around and looks around to try to make a play, and then if he don't have nothing, he'll throw the football to Algernon Crumpler across the middle, right? Or he'll hold it and then shoot and then scramble back to the other side until Warwick Dunn is waving his hand like, Mike, I've been open 7 seconds. And then Mike finally throws over his head and Warwick Dunn makes a great catch and uses his speed to break it 70 yards for a touchdown. And people see the touchdowns and they think, oh my God, those two plays were fantastic. Nah, Jerry Rice and Joe Montana did the fundamental thing, and they can do it over and over and over and over and over again and get similar results. In the playmaking aspect, where you have the Michael Vick offense, you do this thing over and over. It's unpredictable. Guys don't know where to go. That's what some guys spot up and some guys screen for no reason, right? Then you see guys out of position over here because they don't know where to go because Michael Vick is scrambling around like a chicken with his head cut off. Does it look great? Yes. Do you win games? Yes. Did Michael Vick win a Super Bowl as a starting quarterback? No.
Is it sustainable? No.
No. That's the thing I'm getting at. And it's no knock, and it's not, excuse me, it's not a knock on Jalen Brunson, right? It's as a matter of fact, I'm co-signing what Dre said, right? About, these things being in place. You want to implement certain stuff. You know what I'm saying? The offense has certain parameters, but then you get a guy in it, and then he sees one thing, and then it's off to the races. It's the Brunson burner. Now Mikal Bridges doesn't know where to go. OG Anunoby and Josh Hart are standing 2 feet away from each other. Mitchell Robinson is screening up top 40 feet away from the rim, right? You got all these different things, and it's all because of, you had the Michael Vick type playmaker as opposed to the Joe Montana type playmaker, the Tom Brady type playmaker, right? That's why people say, do you prefer the Tyrese Halliburton type guy who's going to distribute the ball over fundamental stuff, or Jalen Brunson who can get first downs over and over and over again?
Can I push back, Freezie, to that point?
Bro, I co-signed what you said, right?
No. I agree. I'm agreeing with you. Well, I'm not pushing.
But you gonna push back on
Can
what
I
you said?
expound on what you're saying? I'm not.
Wait a minute, you gonna disagree with what you said?
No, I'm agreeing with you. What you're saying.
Disagreeing.
I'm gonna expound on it though. I'm gonna expound on it. No, I'm gonna expound on it. Like, as you said before, when you look around and you see like players that are quote unquote fancy, all they're doing is pairing a bunch of fundamental stuff over and over and over, but doing it quicker so it looks fancy. Half the time when you see Tyrese Halliburton do a no-look pass, he didn't even need to do the no-look. He didn't need to do the spin. It was already gonna happen. He just puts a little flair on it because he already saw it happening.
Right.
A lot of these things are it's repetition. It's having guys within guardrails so they know what's gonna happen before it even happens. It's like giving the player a cheat sheet. Like you should know these things, but it's cool to have a cheat sheet right there available to you. And and at times it feels like, yo, we come down, we ain't got no plan. It'd be like 2 guys in the corner, 1 guy in the dunker spot. We setting the screen.
The wrong guy, and then you got Josh Hart in the dunker spot. You got Mitchell Robinson 40 feet away from the rim, right? You got Mikal Bridges spotting up in a spot that he doesn't even like to shoot threes from, right?
Everybody is out of position.
OG Anunoby is on the block trying to figure out what to do, and it looks all unorganized because it is.
Hey, Freezie, I ain't even finished. 2 guys in the corner, a guy in the dunker spot. We running a pick and roll. The guy that got the pick is going downhill with the ball, Brunson, for example. And then we got a guy rolling with him. Now you got everybody beneath the free throw line. And then when we don't get the rebound, Pascal already at the other end with nobody checking him. That right there speaks to lack of discipline, lack of organization, lack of prioritizing space. Because we have poor floor balancing. That's what it is. And when you watch the Pacers play and you watch OKC play, those easy transition opportunities, you don't see that because they're drilled in fundamentals. You need to be on the wing when X has the player in this position. And you need to relocate.
Let me say this then. So Coach, remember the question we were trying to get to about 40 minutes ago? Like, well, what coach are we looking for? Remember that? So my answer to that question is not a name. My question is an archetype. I think the Knicks should hire a coach that is excellent at developing and utilizing wing players.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The reason why is because you don't need a coach that can develop bigs, because your big started in the All-Star game, and the other one is probably the best defensive center in the league if he can stay healthy. So you don't need to develop Mitch. Mitch is a great defensive center, probably the best defensive center in the league. Gobert, whoever you choose. Right, you don't need to develop Brunson. You don't need to develop Brunson. Brunson was the all-star starter. Right? What you need to do is find a guy that can unlock your wing players. You find a guy that can unlock your wing players. Not only do you get to take advantage of your starters who are just a notch below. Both of the guys are just a notch below all-star caliber guys, and Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby when they're playing their best. When they're playing their best, they're just below all-star caliber guys, right? So you get a guy to come in to unlock them, but at the same time, you get a guy that's going to unlock the two young studs that you have on the bench, right? And if he can unlock just one of them, whoever, it doesn't matter. Now you have another guy to add to your rotation, right? And the other guy can still develop, right? And if he's unlocking your wing players, what happens is when you run a pick and roll, now you don't have to just bring Cat up because he's your best floor spacer outside of Brunson. You can bring up a guy that can screen for Brunson just in a simple offense, just simple pick and roll, right? The pick and roll, and for those that don't know, the pick and roll gets complicated after you get the screen, right? The pick and roll is easy once the screen is set, but as soon as you turn the screen and rub off your man, the faster you get to the rim, the quicker you have to make millisecond decisions based on the positioning of the defense, right? It sounds easy, but it's really difficult, right? Now you have an outlet that in Karl Anthony Towns, that's probably the best three-point shooter on the roster, but you have an athletic guy going to the rim that threatens the rim outside of the ball handler. And if the defense chooses to tag on either side, now you either get a backdoor cut to the rim or an open three-point shot from the corner, right? So if you're asking me, whoever the guy is that can unlock our wing players, that's the guy that I want to have. That's going to be the guy that takes us to the championship and have us win it. Son from Brooklyn, thank you for your generous contribution. Son says, this is a great conversation. I want the next coach to stretch floor balance, pace, and quick reads on offense and defense. Hey, you just read I just said that. Yeah, bro, that's just what I was saying. So, Coach, what about you, though? What do you think about the next coach?
I mean, not to sound like a broken record, but all the things you just said, especially the part unlocking the two young guys we have, which should have been halfway done already. That we have 4 or 5 rookies that I think are worth something. They're definitely worth developing and seeing what they can do. So I definitely want a coach that's going to be mindful of developing which the starters we already have, because let's face it, these guys aren't old. They're still, if you think your growth is done at 28, 29, 30 as a basketball player in the NBA, there's guys that are, if you're not growing and getting better, you're getting worse because everyone's adding wrinkles to their game. So that's definitely going to be, for me, the new guy. It's going to put an emphasis on strengthening what we do have and playing to those strengths and shoring up and bettering the weaknesses our veterans have. You know, OG and Mikal maybe should work on their ball handling, and they're driving to the lane and finishing at the rim with OG. And, you know, there's things that everything, you know, Mitch free throws, you know, Cat, you know, being, you know, maybe doing more backing down and some of his post move. You know, there's something that everyone could do better that's already here. So a coach that has an emphasis on development, playing to strengths, shoring up weaknesses. I mean, it's basically coaching 101 in my eyes. I would think it's obvious to everyone, but that's definitely something I would like this new guy to be. And the other part, being a motivator of men.
Yeah, being a great leader. Yep.
Yeah, making sure that these players feel like they have a voice and can be heard and have somewhat of a say in what goes on, because they're all grown men here. So they all have the same goal. They want to win the chip.
Right.
So that's, I know it seems like a lot to ask, I guess, from one guy, but they're out there.
Well, you don't bring in one guy though, bro. You bring in him and the staff.
Right.
Smoke, you thinking the same thing, bro? Or are you thinking something different? Hey, nice. I guess the conversation was too deep for Smoke, bro.
It might be a smoke break.
Yeah, it might be.
I'm still here. I'm just waiting till I be till it's my turn. Listening, paying attention.
So what coach? What coach do you want? What type of coach do you want?
As I said before, one coach that's going to bring more pace. To be honest, I would prefer not to have Karl Anthony Towns, but that's a different story for another day. I would love a coach that not just emphasizes defense, is a little more not just analytical, like we need to shoot 50 threes a game, because if you got people that can't shoot threes, shooting threes, that's counterintuitive or counteractive.
Why do you want pace though? Why did you put emphasis on pace?
Because we was one of the slowest teams. So when you a slow team, that may be giving other people chances to make decisions quicker than you're making, because it's taking you so long to get in your offense, right? It's not like we was running like a Phoenix offense, 6 seconds. We slowing the pace down. And as you said before, you got the quarterback running around like Michael Vick trying to create a play. He's scrambling or whatever the case may be. But if he can't get his stuff off, scramble, or Algie Kramar is not open or whatever, like, you know what I mean? He's just kicking it to the last person at the rope. No, we need a dedicated offense where, like, you could see that we got specific play. I don't really think any team in the NBA is running plays like that. They might run sideline plays and timeout plays occasionally. When you really watch basketball nowadays, they might run screen and rolls and back, but they're not really running the same kind of plays we grew up to. You know what I mean?
May I offer you a suggestion then? May I offer you a suggestion based off of everything you just said?
All right.
Mike Brown.
From Cleveland. I was about to say Cleveland, Sacramento.
Yeah, the one that ran the front offense in Sacramento.
But I don't even mean to cut you off, Freezie, but he is the same, because I live in Sacramento, right? Mm-hmm. So when he was here, a lot of people did not like him because he's a tough-nosed coach. He'll curse you out. And so, like, he's a Tom Thibodeau kind of coach. And if we don't want a rigid coach and we want somebody more open-minded and experimental, I don't think that's what. And to be honest, when we say that, we really want somebody that we can form like Clay or Play-Doh or like Gumby, right? That's really what they say. They don't want nobody with courage and convictions that know who they are. They want them to adapt to whatever is new. That's how I feel about it. But I just want somebody that's going to be adaptable. Of course you do. But somebody that knows what they want. Like you said before, we can't be getting rid of Tom Thibodeau. That was even if he was leveling up slowly, we were still leveling up, right? So, like, the next step was the championship. You know what I mean? For people to think that this was our ceiling is crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't have a bench. No matter how many people played, when they did play, how much did they contribute? We didn't have a bench. So, like, when you think about it, first they need to shore up the back end of that roster, and then they need to get somebody that's going to play with pace. Tell Jalen he needs to trust his teammates more so they can get a little more confidence, and then everybody can be relied upon, because he's the only person that can really truly create for themselves on the team now. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know what you mean.
All right. But that's what I mean.
No, I'm not saying that you did what you're saying is not smart. I feel like it was. I feel like
I'm not insulted at all. I agree. I hear you.
But what I'm saying is the Mike Brown thing, because to me, when you were saying it, to me, you were describing Mike Brown, right? When you're talking about pace, sharing the basketball, right? Taking advantage of or threatening the defense as opposed to taking what the defense gives you, right? Like when you were saying those things, right? Like when you were saying, don't take threes if you can't shoot. When you were saying all those things, I was thinking the Sacramento Kings. right? And the thing about the Sacramento Kings is offense. The thing about their offense is you run that system until you know what I'm saying. You run that system until you get to the playoffs and you find out that those all those inches of free space that you had in the regular season are not there anymore. Right now, people are grabbing your jersey and they're not calling it. Right. And now they holding you and bumping you. You go into the rim, getting bumped, and where you're used to getting a foul, you don't get those fouls no more. And those teams have a very bad reputation of being called soft. When they're not soft, they just played a certain style, and then that style may not be conducive to winning play games in the playoffs. Right? We've seen those tight teams for years. We saw the old Dallas Mavericks run it for years. JJ Barea and them zooming up and down. Right. You remember the year they lost to Golden State Warriors?
Hell yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And so Dallas won the championship, but that was a different type of Dallas team.
Yeah, no, they had more tough guys. They had the Deshaun Stevensons, Jason Terry, dudes that was ballers. You know, Jason Kidd. You know, numbers. Yeah, Sean Marion, exactly.
Yeah, no, I remember them.
Let me interject real quick. I agree with some of the premise that you're saying that Mike Brown is a very good coach, and I like Mike Brown and I like his attitude. You know what I mean? But I just don't want to hear the same backlash when we get another coach.
So remember, I'm talking about archetype of coach.
All right, yeah, you're right. But I just know the thing. It's not. Well, you're right. You are talking about an archetype. So you're saying Mike Brown is the archetype. Archetype. So, but ultimately, it takes me back to because what I've heard is Tom Thibodeau's not confrontational, but Mike Brown is way more confrontational from what I've heard, just from people that live in Sacramento, right? And we already don't like them kind of coaches. So I don't think we should. And Thibodeau, Laura Thibodeau is way more confrontational than he actually might be, right? So I don't even want nothing similar. I want something completely different. So, you know, you got to give the fans what they want. They've been begging for this.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. They've been begging for it. You got to keep giving what they want. So when we fail, you can tell them I told you so.
Yeah. Coach, you ready? Coach, you look like you're ready to argue, bro. You ready to argue? You ready to argue? I was going to say you ready to argue with Dre, but then Dre left.
There's no argument. There's no argument to be had because we didn't.
Yeah, it's no arguments.
Pick the guy yet. So
yeah,
I think the thing is, it's not, we all want the same thing. I mean, basically, we want a coach that's going to take this talent and this team to maximize what we have. That's what we need. So whether it's a newer guy or a group of guys or a guy that's been around a little bit and is willing to, open up the floodgates and let things go, then that's the guy. We don't need to be pigeonholing and forcing agendas and your way.
I agree.
It's not even about. I don't mind. There's nothing wrong with being a confrontational coach because there's no confrontations to have if everyone's doing their job. So there's only confrontations when people are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And usually good teams have peers and other players that hold you accountable before the coach even has to get involved. If you have the right roster, the right captain on your team, they're the ones that squash that ish before things have to go to the coach,
And great teams argue and have confrontations all the time.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Great organizations argue, bro. Great organizations don't always get along because everybody has their idea of what greatness, accomplishment, or championship level performance is. And so when you see organizations kind of have a rift, not a canyon size divide, but a example is your soda. When your soda has bubbles in it, that's what you want. If your soda don't have bubbles in it, you're like, man, I ain't want this. It's flat. Right? That's what you want. You want bubbles in your soda. You know what I'm saying?
A flat
Right.
diet Coke.
So let me ask you a question real quick, Freezie. Is Mark Jackson on the table, or is he too like out of date of like what we looking for? Because we know he can reach us to another pinnacle just, based off his history or whatever. I know he ain't a winner in the sense of a champion or nothing like that. But I know we've been begging for him for a little while too. And he was a candidate before Thibodeau got the job ultimately. So like, is he archetype?
Let me ask you this, and then I got to put Dre on a pedestal, so a few people can be mad, right?
Okay.
All right. So when the Knicks do alumni stuff, somebody mentioned it this week, and I can't remember whoever said it. I wanted to give you credit, but I forgot what the name was. Right? Somebody told me that when the Knicks do alumni stuff, do you ever see Mark Jackson?
Nope.
Never.
So why are New Yorkers, like, why are Knicks fans wanting the guy that led the Indiana Pacers to the NBA titles, to the NBA championship, not title, I'm sorry, to the NBA championship to come back and coach the Knicks? Mark Jackson is from Queens. He's from Queens, and he was a Knick, but he played more years as a Pacer than he did as a Knick.
I don't think that's what it is. I think they just want proximity to whatever the Warriors had going on.
Well, then Mark Jackson is the guy that sets it up. Then he ain't the one that finished the job.
Well, if you ask
But
Warriors
he still gets credit though. He still gets credit like he's a champion though.
He does? By who?
I mean, he gets
By
credit
everybody.
for establishing.
Everybody in the culture is, they don't say he's a champion, but they know who sets it up. Everybody that knows will say that same thing. Y'all might not, but when I listen to other people talk, that's what they say.
And Warriors fans will say he was outdated for that time. And that was 11, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And if we win next year,
that's true.
Change now.
We're going to be thankful of Tom Thibodeau for setting things up for us. He'll be remembered the same way Mark Jackson was remembered.
Yeah.
We hope.
Yeah, let me. So Dre, you know what? I'm gonna say this to Dre, and I know people are gonna be mad. Like, yo, why you always put Dre on a pedestal? Dre, when you mentioned a certain candidate, bro, I think you were absolutely right. I think everybody that was on the panel described a certain coach. You know who that coach is?
Taylor Jenkins.
I still think Sam Cassell's the guy, bro.
Just real quick, coach. Just real quick. The reason why Taylor Jenkins is the guy everybody's describing. They want a guy that's relatively young and can communicate with players, right? But he backs off players enough to have players have their own identity. At the same time, Dre, what was their pace? What was their pace before they fired Taylor Jenkins? Their pace was what, second or third in the league? Did they have?
They were top 5 at least.
They were top 5 in the league, right? In pace, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that Taylor Jenkins does, and we don't notice it, but Taylor Jenkins legit develops like guys, like these young guys that come. Taylor Jenkins legitimately helped develop Scottie Pippen Jr. Yeah. Nobody remembers Scottie Pippen Jr. from the Lakers, right? Anybody remember Scottie Pippen Jr. on the Lakers? No.
Exactly.
But
no,
they do remember Scottie Pippen Jr. in Phoenix.
But
you on the West Coast though, you cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cheating. Yeah, you got the Cliff Notes version, bro.
You right.
You know what I'm saying? But the thing is anybody remember Brandon Clark, the dude that was supposed to be a defensive small forward, and then he kept injuring his knee, and they turned him into a small ball 5.
Yep.
Taylor Jenkins,
power forward. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Taylor
until
Jenkins,
he got hurt again. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. When they played him and Jaren Jackson Jr. on the floor at the same time, guess
who was killing? It was killing. Brandon Clark was nice.
Who in this panel thought Desmond Bane would be an elite NBA scorer coming out of Kansas State?
Not me. Not with them little ass arms. Nope.
and not looking so strong. He looked like a bodybuilder.
Right. That's
He
what
looked
I'm
like a
saying.
Rottweiler, brother.
He looks
Yeah, he
like
should
a
be on.
T-Rex.
Yeah, he should be
Right.
on. He should be on Venice Beach somewhere, not in the NBA.
So but the thing is with Taylor Jenkins type guys is if you in my opinion, if you present him with the ideal situation, he's the ideal coach for a champion for a long time. Right?
That's a good name, though. That's a good name.
The thing is if you look at his record without his guys, think about how many Memphis Grizzlies games have you watched over the last 3 or 4 years with either John Morant or Jaren Jackson Jr. out of the lineup? It's like every game, right?
Yeah, I'd say about at least half.
Yeah.
Of it.
Last 3 years, they've missed like at least like 65% of the games.
And,
right. This is one. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Coach.
No, I'm saying I go and honestly, to keep it a buck from what you were saying, he got fired for something that we want a coach to do. Like they got mad at him because he feel like he didn't have a clear enough, like he wasn't using Ja Morant enough. He was actually trying to get everyone else, develop everybody instead of just Ja Morant.
Because
that's why he got in
you can't
trouble.
depend on Ja to be there.
Exactly. So he was actually being a smart coach. If you want to keep it a buck,
So you can't win for winning and you can't win for losing, can you?
Right.
That's ultimately the conversation that we having, right?
I mean, keeping it a buck. Coaches don't last long in the league anyway. Besides Pop and Steve Kerr, who's the longest tenured coach right now?
Spoelstra.
Besides Hall of Famers, basically.
Right.
Like the Hall of Famers have earned their way.
Like keeping it a buck, man. Tibbs lasting 5 years is about 3 years longer than the average lifespan of an NBA coach. It's just what it is.
I think we put a lot of like when these coaches really got to develop, right? Steve Kerr won with a team that was ripe, right? Ready to be picked off the tree. He did not develop them players. So to pretend that, hold on, let me finish.
Go ahead, brother.
No, it's all good. To pretend that he just developed, no, right? Like a lot of these coaches don't really develop their players. They come when it's ripe, and like he's saying about Taylor Jenkins, he's actually developing these players, and then the organization is like, well, no, we just want you to do what we want you to do. When he's trying to look at it from a holistic view, you know what I mean? And then most of these coaches, like I said, like a David Black that got LeBron and Cleveland to the finals, but got fired because he was trying to give somebody else the ball so somebody else would be relied upon besides LeBron taking the ball and bricking and because we all know he don't want to go to the free throw line at any games and stuff like that. So it's like you never really, I understand you got to deal with the players you have, so you got to go accordingly to the situation and circumstances. But as you said, we definitely want a player with pay. And I think Taylor Jenkins was a great, I didn't even hear him say that. So Freezie, I'm going to concur on that with you and Dre. I think he was the best coach for Memphis before, because I think these organizations sometimes, they're a little too quick to pull a trigger on a situation, and because they're listening to all the outside noise instead of being patient, like OKC or San Antonio. You got to be patient and build slowly, man. Slow roast.
The reason he got fired is because number one, they came into the offseason and the front office forced him to hire this highly regarded assistant from Europe.
Yeah.
Thomas Isalo.
Yeah.
Was this before or after the gun incident with Ja? You mean the finger guns, not the real guns, the finger gun accident.
After. It was this over the summer they did that.
So he got fired because he couldn't control Ja finger gun action. That's why he got fired.
but this is the thing. Before that, they hired this assistant from Europe that won a lot of games to almost Isalo. And Taylor Jenkins, over that same summer, was implementing an offense with an assistant that he found from college. And they had this offense that was based on spacing and relocating, which didn't require a lot of pick and roll, straight up pick and roll. And Ja wasn't a fan. And Ja is still the franchise player. So they chose Ja over him at that point.
That makes sense for sure. No, as you would as an organization.
Yeah, so I think I think Taylor Jenkins is a damn good coach. I think he got shafted for politics, to be absolutely honest.
Yeah.
It wasn't the on court stuff.
But the thing about it is hey, these teams don't sell coaches jerseys, bro. These teams sell players jerseys. So if you're not winning championships, you gotta win in sales. You gotta make money. If you legitimately, if you're not a champion, you gotta make money. Those are the two mandates, right? Like the owners are like, you know what I'm saying? If I'm not winning on this side, I gotta win on the other side. And Taylor Jenkins is one of those dudes that was threatening not to be either. And so
because their president made they made Jenkins replace 5 of his assistant coaches who've been with him the whole time.
Yeah.
They made it. They were fighting him the whole way.
So you basically knew this was coming.
He got Mark Jackson.
This was coming.
They hired his replacement, knowing damn well they were going to put that guy in that position. And if Taylor Jenkins had a good year, that assistant coach would probably be on. We would be eyeing that assistant coach that they have on their bench right now. We would be talking about him right now. So they gave him that job instead of letting him touch the open market because they view that assistant to almost Isolo very highly because he's been very successful in other places. And when he got the job, he went straight back to straight pick and roll, Ja Morant, figure it out type basketball.
So it's really not about production; it's about relationships and what people think about you, not what they really see. Because if they was using the eye test, and Taylor Jenkins is helping everybody improve on a team, but you regard this person better. See, this is the conversation we always have. Production over projection. And that's the same conversation we're having right now. Who's going to produce over what we already projected to be?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
and about the Steve Kerr thing, I think at first when he first got there, he didn't really develop because he didn't have to, but he knew how to move the chips in position to make the players the most effective versions of themselves. Like when Kerr got there, Steph Curry was an on-ball pick and roll point guard. When Steve Kerr got there, he was running that man off of a billion screens and telling that man, "Hey, you got the neon green light. I don't care where you are on the court, throw it up."
And so, but here's the thing: there's a plus minus thing to Steve Kerr and Mark Jackson, right? When you bench David Lee, who is a offensive hub and rebounder, for Draymond Green, who's probably defensive player of the year and an offensive hub in a different way, right? You actually flip the floor in a way that the defender that can rebound can get the ball and rush down the floor and initiate your offense, where the guards that you worked half to death in the pick and roll now has legs to put into his jump shot.
Yep.
Small things like this.
Oh yeah, that's a great point.
And small things like that, bro, people will overlook. They'll just say Steve Kerr took over. He was a better coach than Mark Jackson. Okay, granted, duly noted. You're absolutely right. But it's a nuanced conversation that deserves some context, as opposed to saying Steve Kerr is better than Mark Jackson, right? Because Steve Kerr had the balls to sit an all-star to bring Draymond Green in to start because he had because if you remember, he had chemistry with Klay Thompson first. He didn't develop chemistry with Steph. If y'all remember how Steph was in and out of the lineup with ankle injuries? Yep. Anybody remember those years?
That's why he was on that 4-year, $40 million contract.
Right.
He was about to be traded.
Right. And then during that era, the bailout guy was Klay. Anybody remember Game 6 Klay? Remember, if you were ever in trouble, Klay Thompson was that guy, and then Steph took over.
You talking about?
Then you couldn't figure out which guy was gonna, and then Steph went to a level that's
35
legendary.
points in the quarter, Clay. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They were in a position where you didn't know which fire to stop. You put out that fire, there's another one raging on the other side of the room.
On the other side of the floor. And
And
then
then-
while you doing that, I don't know if y'all remember this. While y'all doing that though, their underrated wing players used to get dunked straight down the middle. How many wide open dunks did you remember seeing Golden State get during that era? They would get like at least 5 or 6 of those a game. Right.
Yo,
Like,
Draymond used to throw so many lobs, and then at that time, right before KB came, he was a consistent like 35% 3-point shooter at that time. So they really had a trifecta where, because Draymond would always step up to their level and ball out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, Coach, with that said, I think the coach that the Knicks probably need to get is not a replica of an identity that they want this team to have. The reason why I say that, right, is because as soon as Tom Thibodeau gets fired, you know what you see? You see a picture of the Knicks players in the club. When did you ever see a picture of Knicks players in the club? I'm just asking.
So they seem like they was happy.
Was that on Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole squad was in the club.
The whole and it's not that they never went to the club, right? It's just you never saw it. Right.
The timing.
Right. And the other thing too, while people were saying trade Cat's a bum, or trade Josh is a bum, Jalen Brunson dribbles too much, we paid too much for Mikal Bridges, all of this stuff, they in the club together showing solidarity.
PJ Tucker's looking like Freezie with his cap on in the pictures.
Yeah, hey man. I saw that. Look a little Freezie. But no, what I'm saying, what I'm getting at is this: like, everybody's gonna have their own opinion. I even have an opinion on the roster, even though I get the most enjoyment out of hearing what y'all say and drilling down and what y'all are saying. I get more enjoyment out of that. Like, when somebody makes a point, I want to stop everybody and then talk about what you said, right? I get more enjoyment out of that. Like, I get more enjoyment out of being Derek Fisher than I would get enjoyment out of being Kobe, right? This is what I tell people a lot. I don't think they understand the analogy. One day they will, though. But with the coach that's coming in, that's implementing a certain type culture and things of that sort, I think the Knicks are looking for a coach that's going to respect the players as human beings first, right? Get the very best of the talents that these human beings have, and then put a system that fits the human and their talents, as opposed to bringing a pre-made mold and forcing all of these pieces into it. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed, like, when Tom Thibodeau got here, right? You know what he did, right? He brought a prepaid mold and forced everybody into that mold. And while it did get you some structure, right? But even y'all know, y'all don't wear the same size shoe you used to wear when you was 9 years old. You grow and get bigger and better. You grow, right? The same apartment that you got when you first moved out might not be the same size place that you live in now. You grow and you get better. So the framework that was established when you were trying to get established is not the same framework you need right now. My bad for being wordy there. Nice. My bad, y'all.
No, you good.
No, it makes 100% sense. Like, Tom Thibodeau provides a structure that'll get you to competency like no other. You will look like an NBA basketball team with Tom Thibodeau coaching, no matter what. It's just the gap between that level and the next level, which I don't know if he can get to, which is why we did that. Like, it's a risk in general to fire your head coach, no matter how we try to frame it. How we want X, Y, we want this guy, but at a certain point, if your roster is gonna have some level of flaw in it, oh, that man is knocked out. If your roster gonna have some level of flaw in it,
Dang, Trey, your take is so wacky. Put him to sleep.
Oh, Smoke.
I just
All right,
Smoke, you good?
I put Smoke back. Smoking going on.
the sleeping Nick.
Hey, he got to
I'll
work
finish.
tomorrow, man.
I'll finish, coach. If your floor roster is gonna have some measure of flaw in it, then you're gonna need a coach to put it together in terms of maximizing what it is out of it to the highest level. Because there is no perfect team. It's just that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So what you got to do is aim for the ceiling of what you do have and minimize what you can't do.
I think they trying to find a hybrid type of coach, a coach that he's a player coach, he's a no BS coach as well. Like he's gonna hold people accountable, and the most important one is that he doesn't play politics. He doesn't play favoritism,
Right.
because I love Coach Sib. I wish that he was with us, but damn, at the same time, you're not making a case for yourself when there's certain players that you playing and they don't have it going, and just because you like them, we just gonna keep on continue playing them. Like we don't even have a bench. Like what?
Right.
Yeah, and the thing is, sometimes coaches they're so set in their ways, or they overcoach. I've said this before. Like case in point, I'm not saying this is why they lost or whatever, but you started iHeart all year, and you not all year, but when he came back from injury and through the playoffs, and then you change it up when you saw the Pacers had the problem with us having two bigs in the lineup, and the Thunder came out and started Case and Wallace instead of iHeart, and then the first half, it wasn't that great. Like Case Wallace didn't play good at all in that game. So now you got to look at when you're playing at this high level. But my point is, when all the players are really talented and good, that's when the coaching makes a difference. I'm not saying coaching doesn't make a difference all season. It does. But when you're playing at this high level where all the teams are good, all the teams are talented, all the teams are deep, sometimes the tiebreaker is the coach and his decisions.
Yeah.
But when the margins are you losing by 5 points, a coach easily can dictate and swing that.
Yeah.
On possession to possession. Now, when you losing by 15, 20, that's a talent.
20. And not once, a couple times.
At points. But it ain't the talent here. Clearly, it's not. If I said to you, we got 2 sought after 3-and-D wings, 2 All-NBA players, all-star starters, a 3-and-D guard off the bench that shoots elite from catch and shoot and is a great point of attack defender, an elite defensive big, and the only question is, can you develop 2 to possibly 3 bench pieces or get veterans over the course of 82 games? You'd want to see that, right? At a certain point. If you broke it down to that level, there's no it makes perfect sense that we're one of the last 4 teams standing. It just the hub, the hill to get over is the margin of coaching, to me anyway.
But I keep it you even said it yourself. You had the whole season. And it's
that's the margin. That's what margin I'm referring to. The coaching.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm giving you props. I'm like piggyback on what you were saying. But at the same time, it's not like Shaman, you just received them yesterday. It's not like you received them yesterday. And both of them they was playing good. If there's one thing that I got, we all got to give props to Pacers, is that it was between game 1 or game 2. Neesmith, he was on a shooting spree. Everybody kept on looking for a Neesmith. It didn't even matter who was defending Neesmith. Somebody will go to his defender, do a screen, and keep passing it to Neesmith. And in our team, it doesn't even matter who's hot. Somebody else want to play hero ball and do their own thing. And that's not talking about Brunson. I'm talking about in general. Like OG might have it, and it's like now
nice.
yeah.
Yo, nice. How many times we seen an ill-advised OG step back that nobody asked for? Nobody asked. And I frame it like this. This is a Tom Thibodeau thing. Since he been to the Timberwolves, every team he's coached, no matter the roster, has been bottom 5 in assist percentage. Not as total assist percentage. Meaning the number of possessions that end up with an assisted score. We've been last. He's been last. That is a symptom. That is a symptom of how he steers his team. Because he doesn't necessarily care about initial shot quality. And when you turn around and you look at the two teams remaining, all they do is care about that first good shot. They don't care about living and dying with the rebounding. They care about generating turnovers and getting that first great shot. And we more or less are just like, hey, whatever happens, happens. You have a good chance of getting that rebound. That's why Josh Hart plays so much.
But even
because if you had a high percentage shot, you don't need offensive rebound.
Exactly.
But even throughout the
Not
year,
as often. Yeah.
Even throughout the year, you had, what was it, like you had either Cat, Deuce, even not OG that much, but I seen Cat or Deuce. Their first possession, they hit it, they knocking out threes. That's the second three. All of a sudden, we're gonna set him down and wait until the end of the game to see if he still has it.
Hey, I'm gonna say something, man, to the guys that don't believe in offense. They just want defense, right? Tom Thibodeau in Game 6 of the Indiana Eastern Conference Finals, right? He ran a play that I learned. No lie, I learned this play in 1978, right? I was like, I was in 5th grade, right? I was 9 years old.
Freezie.
I was gonna it was gonna be, I guess it was, I was about to be 10. I was in 5th grade, 9 years old. And my coach called it Honda, right? Because Honda was an exotic Asian car nobody ever, had heard of at the time. And basically what it is you start your big off the wing and you screen for that big to get a launch pad at the rim. And back then we used to take pride in threading the needle, is what we used to call it, throwing a bounce pass in traffic and they get through everybody. And when a defender will reach and not get it, we'd be like, got him, right? They ran this play, right, and got Mitchell Robinson a dunk at the rim, right? And they didn't run Honda again until the 4th quarter.
But even
right? But hold on. Let me. I'm gonna just tell you the reason why I said this. Right? It doesn't, just because a guy doesn't have handle, right, or elite 3-point range, right, or maybe he's not saucy, doesn't mean he can't be an elite scorer. Now, is Mitchell Robinson an elite scorer? No. But when Mitchell Robinson is screening from 30 feet in, he's always open going to the rim.
Yep.
And we never get it to him. Ever. Right? And then we wonder why OG fumbles the ball in traffic. It's because when OG goes to the rim, it's 3 people down there.
Yeah.
Right? If you legit threatened in levels over and over and over again, then your offense looks great and you wear out defenders on the other end. Right? You legit wear out defenders. When a defender can come and be the tag man and rest in a certain place like Josh, of course you can get through 13 rebounds a game because you don't do anything on defense. Basically, you're the tag man. Right? The next coach we get, we have to take advantage of all the player strengths that we have. Like Mitchell Robinson can't dribble in traffic, but he can go up above the crowd and grab that thing and throw that thing down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? These are the type things the next coach we get, he has to be able to understand that OG Anunoby is an excellent ISO player when he goes right. Right? OG going right is crazy. Right? So why do you start him on the right side of the floor if you know he loves going right? That means your coach don't know what that. The coach is out there calling, getting his defensive cards ready while the offense is running. When your guy legit likes to go right, you start him on the left side, so he'll have room to go right. DeLon Wright can't go left. You start him on the left, right? Let him operate his half-court offense from the left. That's old school point guard play, right? Split the defense in half and attack these two players right here to get your 3-on-2 advantage to get you a good shot. That's the type of coach we have to get. Little nuanced stuff, right? We're wondering why the offense is struggling, but Mitchell Robinson is screening 45 feet away from the ball. Jalen Brunson initiating with his foot about to touch the half-court line. Is Jalen Brunson going to beat somebody to the rim in a foot race?
No.
You can do that with John Morant. De'Aaron Fox, they're blazing fast. Jalen Brunson is not going to be able to beat anybody in a foot race from half court to the place that he wants to shoot from. We have to think about these small, nuanced things, right? Like, Coach, you remember this dude named Joe Jaravicious?
Yep.
Coach, do you remember Joe Jaravicious?
Yeah. Penn State receiver, became a Bucks receiver.
The 6'5" guy, right? You remember the Bucks had a quarterback named Brad Johnson?
Yep.
When they had those two guys together, Joe Jaravicious was good in the deep part of the field, though he wasn't necessarily a deep threat, right? Joe Jaravicious, if he caught the ball behind linebackers, could make safeties miss and break for big plays, right? But he wasn't Randy Moss, which is a difference, right? Instead of Brad Johnson trying to chuck the ball deep, Brad Johnson would throw that 15-yard pass, and Joe Jaravicious would break that thing, split the seam, and get you a 43-yard gain. Because the Bucks knew how to use their personnel. Right? Coach, you remember Mark Bulger, the quarterback from the Rams?
Mm-hmm.
Mark Bulger could throw the football to spots. He couldn't run, but he could throw that football to spots, right? He would look the safety dead in the face and throw the ball at the safety, but Isaac Bruce would cut in front of that safety because the play that's called is what they call a square in. I don't know if people understand like football routes and all that other stuff, right? So what I'm saying is this. OG can score going right. Mikal Bridges has a mid-range game. Mitchell Robinson is always open when he rolls the rim from 30 feet in within. Why don't you just put all those pieces together and run your offense based on that, on your personnel, as opposed to saying, hey, man, go get me some buckets? Can you orchestrate that, Coach? Can you take 7 or 8 guys and you know their strengths and weaknesses on offense? And then orchestrate that, know who to play together?
Yep. I mean, it seems easy.
Dre, if not, you know what the Knicks should do? I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound like sacrilege.
What?
The Knicks might need an offensive coordinator.
Where Terry Stotts at?
Where is Terry Stotts and Caleb Canales?
Yeah.
Right? Where are the guys that invented Dame time? Where are they at?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. All right, man. Hey, y'all got anything else? Nice. What else you got?
No, the only thing I just wanted to say is that I'm pretty sure everybody remember the Mighty Duck movie when they actually did the V formation and stuff. You remember? And everybody started thinking like, "Oh, that's unstoppable. Nobody's gonna stop that." That's what I thought with Jalen Brunson and Cat. when they did the pick and roll at the beginning of the season,
That's unstoppable. I remember we were all yelling.
and all of a sudden, it's
when you put 3 shooters around them.
no. The funny thing is, IQBM, for some reason they just stopped doing it throughout the whole year.
No. The reason they stopped doing it, let me explain to you.
Uh-huh.
We played 95. We played 95% of our possessions. 95% of our Cat and Brunson possessions had Josh Hart and Precious Achua in them. That's why. And when you have 2 guys that are not centers that teams don't have to respect, their man cheats off of and blows up every pick and roll. So there is no rolling. And once that pick and roll is already established that it's not going to happen, you can't establish a pop off of it because they're going to play aggressive on the pop and just stand all over Cat's toes.
Right.
And when Brunson is realistically 5'11", all you're doing is making those passes and those reads harder on him. When you put guys on the court that are not centers that can't shoot or can't shoot to a level that teams respect them. When Josh Hart was shooting 40% from 3 the first 2 months of the season and teams were actually honoring him, that pick and roll was basically unstoppable. But when you have a guy you have to cheat off of, it harms. It makes everyone else's job harder.
But one of the other things too, man, I think fans in general just don't get a real sense of is the roll man is comparable to a fullback, a linebacker, or a tight end. They are going to get hit every play. And these dudes get injured, right? A roll man legitimately, think about the first thing. What's the first thing that happens to the roll man in a pick and roll? The first thing that happens to him.
He gets tagged.
That, like when the roll man starts at the top of the key, wherever it is, the first thing that happens to him is a human body crashes into him. Right? Then off that crash, you tell him to get wide enough to create a passing lane. Meanwhile, his whole trip to the rim, everybody is touching him, bumping him the whole way there.
And now multiply that by two players.
Yeah. and then somebody is going to try to cut him off, but his job is to get to the front of the rim. So now he's got to fight to get to the front of the rim. Meanwhile, we see the ball handler shoot a nice smooth J with the open square footage that he earns from the screen. And we like, yeah, man, that pick and roll was fire. Bro, when you ask your all-star center to be a pick and roll man, you're begging for him to get injured, bro.
Even with that too, Freezie. If you run pick and roll with optimal spacing, he's not getting touched nearly as much as when you don't have optimal spacing. When you have bad spacing, he's getting tagged by the tag man. So when he's coming down the lane, Josh Hart's man is cheating off of him to chip him with an elbow.
Yep.
To bump him. And then that allows
to bump him off course. That's their job.
And then that allows his man to make his way back into the play. Then it's even more physicality. There's a reason why, like, the first 2 months of the season, Cat was getting a dunk or two every night.
Right.
Because he wasn't being impeded.
Yeah.
But when you take that, when you have a guy on the court that teams don't have to respect and cheat off of, it's just like the idea of bumping cutters. It's
you remember how much OG used to coach? You remember how much OG used to dunk at the beginning of the season? Remember that?
Yeah.
The whole concept of bumping cutters, that's it right there.
Yeah.
But they're doing it with an off-ball guy that isn't even supposed to be in the play in the first place.
Yeah.
That was established in January, and teams have been playing us the same way, and we haven't adjusted.
Hey, there your coach is on the unemployment line.
Yeah.
And this is why I've been one of the only advocates that's mentioning this guy's name. And I'm going to try to keep it going. That's why I think Sam Cassell.
Thought you was going to say Jerry Sloan.
Should be Don Nelson. No, Sam Cassell. Because, look, whether you respect Doc Rivers or not, whatever, he has some good offensive philosophies, especially when he was a little bit of a younger coach. He learned under Doc Rivers, Ty Lue, and now he's with Missoula. He was with the 76ers. Those are coaches that emphasize like modern offensive principles, like the spread pick and roll, quick decision making, utilizing shooters and motion sets. When he was with the Sixers, Sam Cassell was instrumental in helping Tyrese Maxey evolve into a different, into efficient scoring guard by leveraging space and tempo. In Boston, I mean, obviously, I'm not saying we want to shoot that many threes, but he was part of, he's been seeing how that's been running these last 2 years. And we would say that's a modern offense. I just think someone like Cassell, is to implement more motion, off-ball actions, like diverse pick and rolls, and like so we can reduce like over relying on Brunson's isolation. Because Sam Cassell was the kind of point guard when he played. He's used to getting other guys involved, but it's still he got his when he needed. You know what I'm saying? Like we all know in that playoff series against the Knicks, I mean, he wasn't their go-to guy, but man, that dude, he would always make a shot. Damn, Cassell, when they needed it. And ex-point guards in the NBA, on average, have been pretty good head coaches.
That's basically how the theorem is. You wanna get a guy that's gonna be a great coach. Hire a back catcher in baseball. You know what I'm saying? A guy that runs the game. Hire a quarterback, right? In football, right? Somebody that knows, that's responsible for everyone. Hire a point guard, a guy that's responsible for everyone.
Right.
But
Just
hey,
like,
I got it. I got a name for you. Go ahead, Coach. Though.
No, it was like my last thing on, Cassell. Like, some people talking about Rondo. Like Cassell was a mentor to Rondo when he was a vet. Like they played together.
Yeah.
And I know Rondo has said before. I remember seeing that he set the tone for his high IQ play and accountability. Like Cassell's been known working well with guards. So maybe he can unlock Deuce too. You know what I'm saying? So, and Tyler Colin and any other guy we bring in. So yeah, go ahead.
Me?
Oh, you said there was another guy that you were.
Andre Miller.
Yeah.
Is he a
that
coach
dude.
right now? Or is he coaching at all?
Yeah, a guy
he's
that's
in
smart.
Utah, right? I believe.
A guy that's smart has to be coach. I think he's a G League coach. Okay. He is
look that up.
Head coach of the Grand Rapids Gold.
Okay.
Andre Miller is 49 years old. God, where does the time go? How was Andre Miller almost 50?
Yeah, he might be. He's too old for me.
Andre Miller was a bucket.
Yeah.
Even the reason why I said Taylor Jenkins is because he's still young enough to have a pulse on what the modern game is. And he's already had experience in terms of micromanaging. Like, I think managing our personalities from this team is a lot easier than dealing with whatever he was dealing with while he was still winning games. So, I don't know. We should know who the coach is going to be before the draft.
Yeah, I think so.
As far as ex-coaches that had other jobs, he's my personal lead candidate too. Taylor Jenkins. Like over the Mike Malone and Mark Jackson, like, you know, people that are naming coaches that have already had head coaching jobs.
Yeah. All right, man. I'm gonna wrap up right here so I can get ready to get on these telephones at 7:45.
Make the money, don't make the money make you.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna go ahead and make me a Quentin Grimes and lay down on a full stomach.
Quentin Grimes all raw.
Yeah, man. Thank you everybody for coming through and rocking with us. Appreciate everybody that has subscribed and liked and viewed the channel as we look to kind of get the channel in the place where it should already be. Right? We feel like the channel has so many dope personalities that come through and rock and share. And so just think Lawrence Tears should be one of the big boys. If anybody in here remembers the old school rapper Kwame, that song, One of the Big Boys, that's what we should be at. And we're gonna try to work our way there, try to cut out some of the stuff that used to drag us down and keep us down so that we can ascend to that place, bring in new, fresher audiences to go with all of our day ones so that we can have a bigger impact and a bigger footprint in this Knicks space. So thank y'all, everybody who came through and rocked with us. We're going to get out of here, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
I rank where the view is nothing less than phenomenal. For how I express and project from my abdominal. The only view better, both my daddy and my mama know. No living parents, my sons give me balance. My wife is my serenity, this mic is my identity. The world is foul enough, that's why I write without obscenities. Provoking danger with broken language and spoken anguish. Begging to get hurt, why would you ask to go through changes? Yes, Lord, life's a chessboard, master the angles. Control the tempo, be the one who holds the info. Acknowledge is just as deadly as machete swings. When spoken, the truth is as potent as that Medellin. While others swear the style is free, I just let it ring. Our time is undervalued, soldiers make us better kings.